What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to NFL Turf Talk live here on DSM Media. Week 4 recap. Eagles, Jags, our biggest takeaway. The Niners beat up on the Rams last night on Monday Night Football. That and much, much more when we are back in 30 seconds.
One-on-one. Lovett flares out to the right. Caught over the middle. And he's at the 45. Are you kidding? Oh! He's going to go! Brady gets hit. The ball is out. And Philadelphia has
it. What is happening, everybody? Happy Tuesday. We are live here on DSM Media's Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter channel. If you are new to the channel, head on over to DSM_media on Twitter. Hit that follow button. We greatly appreciate it. And of course, check out the link tree in our bio. If you are new to the channel, head on over to the YouTube channel specifically. That's where we can get your thoughts, comments, questions, concerns pulled up here on the screen. Like, comment, share, as my man Scotty is saying. I am one half of your host, Dylan Davis. You can find me on Twitter at DylanJD98. You can find my man Scotty on Twitter at Scotty Drown. And before we get into tonight's show, don't forget to check our guys out at Gents Barber Lounge. That's right. DSM Media and Turf Talk is now proudly brought to you by Gents Barber Lounge. Check out one of 2 great locations in Fishtown and Old City and book your appointment today. Gents owns the craft and it shows. Rated the #1 barbershop on Yelp in the Philadelphia area. Having multiple award-winning barbers and being able to handle any style or cut, adult or kid. Here's a look at some of Gents' great work. Oh, gotta go over here, Scotty. Gotta go over here. 1 second. There we go. Forgot to put the video up on the Turf Talk tag, but it's all good. Guys, check them out and book your appointment today at www.gentsbarberlounge.com. And don't forget to check out our partners over at Luxodon. That's right. Check out shopluxodon.com. Use code DSM at checkout. It's where you can find men and women jewelry like so. My man Scotty just got himself a nice little gold bracelet. I'm rocking the silver chain. They got it's very nice. It's good material, and it comes in very, very quick. Scotty, what's going on?
Hey, man, not much. Just looking at Jason's comments over here, talking about the kicker. Breaking news.
Yes, sir.
We maybe make a headline for the kicker, Cameron Dicker. That'll be interesting, but we'll have to chat about that, I suppose. But I'm having a good week so far, trying to get back on track from the long weekend, I should say, not lost weekend. But yeah, man, I'm here. I'm ready to talk about week 4. Obviously, we're going to talk about birds. That's the best part.
Oh, yeah.
As always. But Phillies, how about that? I'm rocking my Phillies hat today. I got it red in here, Red October. Hey, we got to celebrate that. It's been 11 years. And that's a long time for this city that, lives and breathes sports. So
yeah, man. Got
to celebrate that. Shout out the Phillies on Turf Talk today because they finally made the postseason, man. And that builds a lot of excitement around this city.
Yeah, man. First time in over a decade, as you said. It's a great time to be a Philly sports fan. You got the Phillies making the postseason for the first time in 11 years. The Sixers kick off their preseason debut last night against the Nets and Ben Simmons. Tyrese Maxey looks spectacular. And then you got the Birds coming in hot, starting off the season 4-0 with a 29-21 victory over the Jacksonville Jaguars on Sunday afternoon. So let's start right there, Scotty. The Birds, like I said, improved to 4-0, and this one was a little bit different, right? This one was very telling of what this I almost said what this Flyers team is exactly of what this Eagles team is, right? Because it's been early leads. It's been a lot of sunshine and rainbows, and the question really was, well, what's going to happen when the Eagles have a slow start? What's going to happen when they get down in a game early? Will they be able to battle through adversity and come back? And that's exactly what they did on Sunday afternoon. They get down early. Jalen Hurts throws his worst pass of the season. It gets taken back for 6. The very next possession, the defense gives up a touchdown. They're down 14-0 very early in the first quarter. Bad weather conditions, as we all know. And you just saw calmness throughout the entire roster, throughout the entire coaching staff, and that leadership from Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni really showed. But this was it. This was a character building type of win for me. This was an adversity, type of, what happens when you get down early type of win for this Eagles team. And it's something we hadn't seen before. Every week coming into an Eagles game, we're sitting here talking about all the question marks are about the flashiness of Jalen Hurts or what's Jonathan Gannon's defense going to look like. It wasn't anything like that this week. There was no flash to the offense. They ran the ball down Jacksonville's throat. They won the war in the trenches on both sides of the ball. And on defense, after giving up that first touchdown, they locked down Jacksonville until late in the fourth quarter. So this win, I really don't have too much in depth about it. It's just it was just a different type of win, and it showed you that they can beat you different ways. They can beat you with an air raid. They can beat you running the ball down your throat. They can beat you in bad weather. They can beat you coming from behind. It, however you want it, they will give it to you. So it was a very impressive win for the Birds this week.
Yeah, I totally agree. And there's a couple different points from this game that I want to kind of talk about. And, just kind of piggybacking off of what we talked about on Sunday, just briefly, because I know I wasn't able to join Eagles pregame, but we talked about it briefly on Turf Talk that morning. And I remember mentioning to you that if this turns into a weathered game like it was calling for, that absolutely favors the Eagles. Like, I know everything has looked beautiful through the air through the first, 3 weeks there.
Yeah.
This is a running football team. They can go back to their calling card at any time. And I thought it was magnificent that they recognized and were able to do that, right? Everything could have went stray when Jalen Hurts throws that pick six, right? And it kind of did. They came down, they went 3 and out or whatever happened in that next drive, and then the Jags come back and score again. They go up 14-0. And what I liked from Jalen Hurts, let's talk about him a little bit. I remember specifically that first game against Dallas last year where he throws that pick six. I think Trayvon Diggs got him. And he looked shook the rest of the game, right? He, and it's in Dallas. It's got the big lights and everything. Jalen Hurts looked shook in the rest of that game. You come out, you do it on the first drive this game. You throw a pick six to the Jags. Doesn't blink an eye, right? Just like you said, they remain calm. And, man, what a fourth down play by Jalen Hurts. I believe it was their first score in the game. Yeah. And it was on fourth down, and Jalen Hurts makes his way into the end zone. And it sent chills through my body because I was just like, man, this guy, like, he messes up, right? In the pick six. And he comes back and he just gives it his all every single time. And it's just so hard to not follow that lead. And you saw it. The Eagles were able to do that. And by all means, Miles Sanders, right? Like, let's give this guy the credit because this wasn't necessarily a Jalen Hurts game, although Jalen Hurts definitely had his fingerprints on it. Miles Sanders showed up and showed out. That offensive line showed up and showed out, playing through that weather, just like we talked about. And you mentioned it was a different type of winning. It was tough. It showed toughness. The Jags are a tough team. I'll give them that. Like, they play really tough. Trevor Lawrence really, kind of took them out of that game with all the fumbles and everything he had going on. But a lot of that is the Eagles' defense as well. We got to throw that in there. Hassan Reddick. We've been waiting, right? Those first 2 weeks. And even week 3, he was getting closer and closer against the Washington Commanders. And then this week, you see the explosion that we were looking for. 2 strip sacks in that game, 2 forced fumbles, 2 fumbles recovered in that game. Complete Hassan Reddick takeover in that backfield. And, I mean, like you said, they're just showing they can win in all different facets of the game. And it was just nice to see them go back to what we saw last year in a sense. We can beat you still by running the football down your throat. Everyone thought that maybe the Jags come in and toughen us up. They come in with a nice defense. They come in with a good running game. And that stuff gets shut down, man. And there was no panic early. And, obviously the memes and everything was going around the internet whenever the Eagles go down 14-0. And it is great to know that all eyes are on us right now. It's a lovely feeling because you're not watching for that score. You're not watching for the Eagles to go down if you're not scared of them. You want them to lose so that it fulfills this little thing in your gut that, this team really might be the best team in the NFL. This team really might have a great chance at winning a Super Bowl. And there's a lot of people out there that are really worried, and I love seeing it because that means the Eagles are doing what they're supposed to.
100%. Before I get to the moving forward and the overall take of this win, I do want to touch on a couple of things with you. Like you mentioned, Jalen Hurts bouncing back after the pick six and then a rough 3-and-out the following possession. There's just such a calmness to his leadership and his personality out on the field, and it's refreshing, man. Like there's no panic. And it kind of played out throughout the entire team, on both sides of the ball. But, a couple of comments are talking about Miles Sanders, and you hit on him as well. Dude, that's what was just so much more impressive about Sunday in that weather. Like, first of all, this was the second time in 4 games this year that the Eagles have ran the ball for over 200 yards and scored 4 rushing touchdowns. I don't think any other team has done it once. The Eagles have done it twice so far. Secondly, you're going in against, statistically, I believe, the number 1 rush defense in football through 3 weeks. They're not really the number 1 rush defense in football, but still, they were playing at a high level. Going into that game with that weather, they know what you are trying to do. Like, the Eagles want to run the football. The Eagles, something we have not hit on, lost Jordan Mailata on the first possession and lost Isaac Seumalo later in the game, and ran the ball down their throat. Scotty, just imposed their will. Like Jeff Stoutland, I hope, never goes anywhere. I don't know what it is. Like Landon,
oh my God.
Scotty and I, this, I'm not an Andre Dillard fan. I'm just not, right? Whatever. He's a serviceable backup. He's out. So you lose Mailata. Dillard's not there. Jack Driscoll has to step over and play left tackle and just does an outstanding job. There's no change to the offensive line. Exactly. Knowing what the Eagles want to do, they were still effective running the football down Jacksonville's throat all game long. And then Jalen was able to bounce back and pick his spots in the intermediate stuff. Yeah. Obviously, not really taking any shots downfield in this weather, but
AJ still had a great game. Goddard had a good game, right?
Oh,
You still were able to get your weapons involved while still having the effective run. It was, once again, a very, just full-on spectacle of what the Eagles can really do.
Imposing your will, like playing to your strengths, playing to your identity, not playing to another team's strengths. You're not trying to take away another team's strengths. Playing to your strengths is key when you are a good team. Now, defensively, man, listen, we talked about all the acquisitions and the draft picks all offseason long, Scotty, and we knew what this defense could potentially look like, and all the star power in Bradbury and in Reddick and CGJ and Kaiser White. Scotty, all of them, and I mean all of them, have been spectacular. Yeah. And then guys that were already here. Now, obviously, like Jason had said earlier, and I'm pretty sure I saw Sirianni say that Darius Slay is okay. Like he's on track to play this week. So guys that were already here, like Brandon Graham and Fletcher Cox and Josh Sweat and Darius Slay and Marcus Epps and TJ Edwards, they're all having very good years already as well.
Yeah.
James Bradbury is allowed under 100 passing yards through 4 weeks. He has 2 picks and a touchdown. Yep. Kaiser White's been all over the field. CJ Gardner-Johnson has played 99% of the defensive snaps for the Eagles. That is humongous. And then you already touched on Hassan Reddick, who on the pregame show I picked as my defensive player of the game. 2 forced fumbles that the Eagles take over. 2, I believe, a sack and a half or 2 sacks. And if you compare, listen, man, he had a slow start. If you compare him and Micah Parsons' numbers, they're identical through the first 4 weeks. Okay? Yeah. So they got 1, we got 1. And this is exactly right. Every acquisition this offseason has made an immediate positive impact on this defense. Scotty, this defense hasn't allowed more than 14 points since week 1. Do you realize that?
It's insane.
Like, that is absurd, bro.
And how many turnovers? You know what I mean? They're forcing turnovers.
Oh, they're winning a turnover battle every week.
It's insane. I mean,
how many turnovers did we have on Sunday? 3 or 4? 3? We had the Bradbury pick, 2 forced fumbles.
I say 5, man.
Yeah, it might have been more.
Trevor Lawrence had like 4 fumbles in that game. Yeah. Honestly, he got strip sacked twice, and then you remember the third down. It was 4th down actually. He was trying to scramble out of the pocket, and he just loses the football. mind you. The rain wasn't helping Trevor Lawrence, that's for sure. But I think he lost 4 fumbles in that game. And you throw in the pick on top of it.
And the Bradbury interception was
that was beautiful.
Like having a corner that can just pick that out and jump in front of a route, have the speed, have the athleticism to jump in front of a route. Again, now, don't get me wrong,
Maddox.
And don't get me wrong, like Lawrence was late to the read.
Yeah,
bad weather, whatever. Still a great jump, but that's another thing, dude. Like the Eagles won this game from behind in bad weather conditions. Coming into the game without Avonte Maddox, then you lose Darius Slay in the first quarter. And then you lose your left tackle on the first possession and your left guard later in the game. And nothing seen. Now, don't get me wrong. Josiah Scott, Zach McPherson, you saw the back of their jerseys pretty often. Like, you don't want to see them have to play every snap. I get it. But it wasn't detrimental. Now, maybe the weather played a factor. Maybe we're sitting here happy that it was 30-mile-per-hour winds and that it was almost a monsoon in South Philly. Because if not, and Trevor Lawrence has time and it's sunshine, maybe Josiah Scott gets beat up a little bit more than we saw in the rain. But that wasn't the case, man. And here's the thing.
It was what we talked about before the game, just about the Jags. And yes, Christian Kirk's having a great season, but is that the guy that's going to win you a game against an undefeated team? I don't know. The Jags, they were, I don't want to say they were overhyped because they were playing really good football. They were kind of playing over their heads in a sense. But it would be interesting, the weather. Do these players get injured without the weather as well? So that's the other caveat.
Exactly.
But what were you going to say?
And no offense, if AJ Brown puts in a little bit more effort, we probably don't lose Jordan Mailata on the first possession. AJ, I love you, brother. Love you. What was that?
We were looking at,
what was that?
We were drinking and we were doing the groomsmen thing, and we were looking at that
two opportunities to just stick an arm out within arm's reach.
Grab him.
But it's all right, man. AJ Brown, I believe he's the only receiver in the NFL to have 5+ catches for 65 or 70+ yards in all.
Maybe he has
whatever the number is.
His health in mind. We don't know. He's got some injuries in his career. But
now Mailata,
I know. But you lose Mailata.
Listen, if the Eagles lost by a touchdown or by 3, we could probably point our finger at that. They didn't lose the game, so it doesn't matter. I'm just saying it was pretty fun. It was you saw the Garrett Bowles or whatever, the Denver Bronco lineman. You saw the leap on the pick. It wasn't to that, but AJ Brown was he was just gave a little swat. Oh no, he got by me. Shit.
Which shout out to AJ Brown. I believe he is 3rd in the NFL right now in receiving yards. Miles Sanders, man, shout out to him as well. Wanted to make sure we stick this in before we move on from the birds, but Miles Sanders 6th in carries in the entire NFL. 3rd in rushing yards in the entire NFL right now. So Miles Sanders carrying the load each and every game, each and every week. And similar to what you guys were saying earlier and in the comments as well, 27 carries. That really answers some question marks of if he can be a guy, right? And I guess what I would ask you, how close are you to extending him at this point? What are your thoughts? It's rough, right? That's a tough conversation,
Listen, man. I'm not anti-extending them. If they do it, they do it. But I'm not banging because I do think, especially in this offense, he's done a phenomenal job. But within this offense, behind this offensive line, I think he can fit a lot of different guys back there and get semi the same production, right? I'll ask you this: what's happening with Kenny G? Because even throughout the first 2-3 weeks, we were sitting here saying wow, they have more trust and confidence in Miles than they did last year. It's less of a running back by committee. It's more him. And then Gainwell gets 2 carries, Scott gets 3. But you come into this game, Boston Scott's inactive, and Trey Sermon got more looks behind Miles Sanders getting called up to the active roster than Kenny Gainwell did. Now I know Gainwell found the end zone, but I don't know what's going on there. He seemed
Sermon looked decent though when he did run the ball.
That's my point, man. I think a lot of different guys could come in here and produce behind this offensive line. So I'm willing to pay him. He's just not breaking the bank.
And quite frankly, I don't know if I'm breaking the bank for any running back if it's not Jonathan Taylor, CMC,
Yeah.
that type of level. Like I just don't know that I'm breaking the
Well,
bank
first
for
of all,
any
I
kind
ain't
of running
breaking.
back like that.
First of all,
Not anymore.
Jonathan Taylor is going down as maybe the worst number 1 overall pick in fantasy football history through 4 weeks, and Christian McCaffrey, got the ball 8 times out of the backfield last week. So when we get into the NFL landscape as a whole, that's one of my take. Matt Rule might be out the door soon. I have no idea what the philosophy is, having Baker Mayfield drop back almost 40 times and only running the ball 8 times to Christian McCaffrey. Makes zero effing sense to me. But my last point about the Eagles and just kind of taking this win, 4-0 start heading into Arizona, and then just kind of watching what's going around the NFC, Scotty. We sat here last week and how far away are we from putting, the humbleness aside, from putting the lack of faith or lack of trust in that they are the best team. And until I see the Rams are extremely inconsistent. You saw that last night. The Bucs damn sure had their flaws. Now I know that was a hell of a performance by Kansas City, but the Bucs had their flaws, and they had their flaws before last night offensively.
Absolutely.
The Packers hardly escaped Zappy, I don't even know his first name, and Brian Hoyer in overtime at Lambeau Field. I could give less of a damn about that offense than Aaron Rodgers at the moment. Who is it that we already beat the dog shit out of Minnesota?
Yeah, and that Minnesota game, as far as the stature of Minnesota or their standing in the NFL, that blowout is starting to fade away, and they're starting to look like a good team again. So maybe it was just that the Eagles are just that much better than a good team.
You think so? Maybe, man. Maybe that was always a possibility, and not to mention to kind of wrap up this 4-0 start perfectly and put the little cherry on top. The New Orleans Saints are injury plagued and are 1-3. So the Philadelphia Eagles currently hold the 4th overall draft pick
in the 2023 draft. Pick. What are the odds?
Oh my Lord. Okay. So that made Sunday a lot better. That made we
go ahead. Oh, I was just gonna say, just to answer your question earlier, for when is it time to be done being modest? I'm telling you this. I'm about 2 weeks from really blowing my load as far as the Eagles and their standing in the NFL. All it takes for me to not even say that they're the best team in the NFL, win these next 2 games, go 6-0, take care of business. Maybe you know what? It's the Cowboys on my mind. 5-1, 6-0. I don't care. Beat the Cowboys in that Week 6 matchup, and we're going to be talking about some stuff here. Beat them handedly, and we'll be talking. But it's arguable that they're the best team in the NFL right now, and I think it's a hard argument to argue against.
It's funny, man. So you are the host of Scotty Talks NBA, and you mentioned 2 weeks. And all I'm going to say is 2 weeks from tonight is the 76ers opener against the Boston Celtics at TD Garden. And I honestly think, obviously it takes the Eagles to continue playing well, but I believe external factors and all the positivity in Philly pushes that confidence a little bit further, right? If the Eagles are still winning, if the Eagles play tough or beat the Cardinals on the road this weekend and the Phillies win a playoff series, not that they have anything to do with each other, but it's just going to exude that confidence in both teams a little bit more. Once the Sixers start, it's going to exude. So I might say some things about the Eagles that might be a little bit more far-fetched simply because the Sixers are back.
Hey, look at it like this. What is far-fetched that we could say about the Eagles right now? What is really just out of this world as far as what we could say? Jalen Hurts is going to win MVP.
No, the only thing that you
that's
can
not
say
out of the realm of reality.
No, the only thing that's outlandish say is if you made a statement they will win the Super Bowl.
They will.
They're going. The Birds are going to win the Super Bowl. No, the Eagles can win the Super Bowl.
They're going to lock in the 1 seed.
That's the only thing. You cannot make a definitive statement 4 weeks through. But there's a conversation to be had surrounding them. Yeah. And it's impressive, man. And it almost just seems like dude, and they're just covering spreads, dude. They're a horse right now. Like
I thought that
they,
6.5 point spread was crazy. I
me
thought it was a
too.
little insane, but
Me too.
hey,
They almost beat them by
they know more
by
than me.
15. But yeah, man, exactly. But let's move on to kind of the rest of the NFL Week 4 slate before we get into last night's game. And Scotty, there's just one word on my mind as I look across this slate. Now, Sunday was another very weird day. There's been a couple weird Sundays throughout this NFL season so far, but the word that describes this week and the season as a whole, inconsistency.
Yeah.
Throughout, so like we sit here and we're talking about how the Eagles are the last remaining undefeated team in the NFL, so that they're consistent. But outside of that, you just have so much up and down. Like I'll just run through to like you had the Cleveland Browns who 1 week are beating up. Not that the Steelers are any good, but they're beating up on the Steelers, and then you come out and you blow a lead in Atlanta against Marcus Mariota and the Falcons.
It's so funny because we talked about the spread on that one.
Yeah. You had the Indianapolis Colts beating Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs and then losing by 7 to Ryan Tannehill. You have the Detroit Lions off. Now, obviously, I know they were missing 2 key pieces to their offense, but they still scored 45 points. Scotty, if they're like, I think Dan Orlovsky tweeted this. If the Lions defense was bad, they'd be a 2-2 team.
Yeah, like
their defense is so far past bad. They're
48 points to Geno Smith. Like what the hell?
Just an absolute non-competitor.
Conversation for Thursday night, man. Geno Smith or Russell Wilson? Have you seen the numbers, bro? And I'm not going to sit here and argue for Geno Smith, but bro, the numbers are crazy when you put them side by side so far.
Oh, man. But even further, like you have the Arizona Cardinals up and down, Kyler Murray up and down, up and down. You have the Denver Broncos. They squeak out a win against the Niners.
Yep.
They come out, they lose to the 0-3 Raiders. You have the Kansas City Chiefs lose last week, can't do anything offensively against the Colts, drop 41 on the best defense in football. You have the Niners in that Broncos game I just alluded to last week, and Jimmy G look like absolute dog water. And then they come out and beat the dog shit out of the LA Rams last night. You have the Rams who felt like they started to find their groove. And then they kicked 3 field goals against the Niners last night. It's horrible. And yeah, man, I do one as well. And I find myself like every week, like 6 losses, 8 losses, 5 losses, 7 losses. Like I have not had a good week at all so far in the NFL. So much inconsistency up and down. And that's why, like, when we sit here talking about the Eagles compared to the other teams, specifically in the NFC, there is no doubt in my mind that they're playing like the best team in the league right now because of all that inconsistency. And what are people going to say? Oh, well, the Eagles haven't beaten anybody. Some of these teams who are inconsistent that have losses have lost to nobodies.
Lost to these
teams. You get my
teams.
point? Yeah. So it makes
the Chargers sense. The Chargers lost to the Jags 38-10, and the Eagles just beat them 29-21. So week to week, we gotta stay honest with the way we're looking at these teams. And I feel like outside of Philadelphia, there's a lot of people that aren't doing that as far as diminishing what the Vikings have done. They're 3-1, right? Diminishing what the Jags have done. They're 2-2. They're at the top of their division. Like, we can't sit here and do this all season, right? They play who's in front of them, and they're not only beating them, but they're beating them in dominating fashion. It's kind of crazy, and I think it's a good point as far as consistency, just when you look around the league. And once again, Pittsburgh, man, look at them. Went and blew it to the Jets, bro. And I swear, every time you think they're going to stoop low, and they can't get any lower. They go even lower. You throw Kenny Pickett out there. He throws 3 picks. He's got to go up against the Buffalo Bills this upcoming week. So good luck to Kenny Pickett, the rookie, throwing him out there like that. But what else can you do in Pittsburgh? They need a spark. They need something, man. They're losing to the Jets. and Zach Wilson did not have a good game either. So
no, not dude. Pittsburgh was up by 10 in the fourth quarter.
How do you lose that?
They were legitimately up by 10 with like 8 or 9 minutes left.
Oh, my goodness. And then, like you said, the Broncos lose to the winless Raiders. They're no longer winless. But, And Josh Jacobs has an amazing game in that game. It's been a while since I've seen like a rager like that from Josh Jacobs.
That's what I'm saying.
And
What's
TJ
happening?
Hawkinson. Oh my God. He was
What's
going
happening?
off.
What is happening?
What the hell?
And then sad news in Denver. You have Javonte Williams tearing his ACL
Sad
and
news for my
I believe his
dynasty
LCL as
too.
well. Yeah, man. So he's down for the year. Like that's like this Thursday night, and obviously we'll get to that tomorrow. But this Thursday night game on paper should have been a very quality Thursday night football matchup.
Yeah.
And instead, I'm like, oh, the Colts and the Broncos.
Is Jonathan Taylor gonna
Jonathan
play?
Taylor might not exactly, dude. DeForest Buckner is already out, or no, I'm sorry, Shaq Leonard was already ruled out for Indianapolis. So, but I'll start there.
Yeah.
My biggest takeaway from this week right now, the Indianapolis Colts are the most disappointing team in the NFL, or the most underwhelming team in the NFL, I should say, because of all the expectations I think people around the league kind of had for them heading into this season. Like, you just felt like the roster was there, and they just haven't had consistent or good enough quarterback play to get them over that hump. That defense was a top 5 unit last year. Jonathan Taylor scored 20-plus touchdowns and rushed for 2,000 yards. They have a great offensive line, yada, yada, yada. They bring in Matt Ryan, and, dude, they look like garbage. Absolute garbage. Congratulations. You beat the Kansas City Chiefs. Congratulations. You're 1-3. Or I'm sorry, they're not 1-3. They tied week 1. So you're what? What are they?
Hey,
they're 2-1.
And tell me this, man. Matt Ryan, 9 fumbles through 4 games. I mean, you send off supposedly one issue and you just bring in a bigger one. It's kind of crazy what the Colts have done to themselves in a sense.
Yeah, man.
And then on top of it, you just don't give them any weapons. You know, Jonathan Taylor goes down, and then who do you have? So it's not looking. It's looking very grim in Indianapolis. And I would look to obviously the Titans just beat them, and then I would look to the Jags as a better team as them as well. They skunked the Colts. So
you have to.
Yeah, you kind of have to. Like in reality, it's interesting. What would you say your biggest surprise of the weekend was? Like, what is the game that just really kind of threw you off? Whether it's not the fact of a team that's not supposed to be winning, but just maybe like scores and because I was kind of surprised by this Kansas City and Tampa Bay game.
I knew 72 total points.
Yeah, like that kind of blew my mind. I was talking to you last week, and I had the Bucs way up on my power rankings even after that loss to Green Bay because of that defense. And I don't know if that, I kind of feel like it's just Patrick Mahomes and that Kansas City offense, and Tampa Bay just kind of ran into that wrath after, the Chiefs come off a loss. But man, they just got the doors blown off of them, giving up 41 points. And, it's hard to say it's hard to see the best defense doing that in the game. But then also on the other side, the Bucs were able to put up 31 points, which they haven't been able to do something like that all season. So it was interesting on both sides there.
Yeah, no, that one definitely sticks out to me for the fact, like, dude, Patrick Mahomes, and
he's a freak.
He pulled out about 2 or 3 different type of Houdini-esque moves again. The one play on his own side of the field where he's in the grasp and he just flips one over 2 defenders to Juju for a first down. The sideline, like, double spin move, pull up, push pass for a touchdown in the back of the end zone. He's unbelievable, dude. And that offense, then the way they were able to run the ball against that defense on the road.
Yeah.
That's scary, man, because and that's not going to keep up because Andy doesn't want to do that. But guess what? If they're going to have that success, Andy's going to do it.
Yeah.
So now teams are going to have to start to look out for Clyde Edwards-Helaire again. And then whoever, what's his name? Pacheco?
Yeah, Pacheco. Rookie.
Well, they just find these guys. You see my point about Miles Sanders? You can just find guys, man. So
Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I think he has a touchdown in every single game this season. I mean, I have him in fantasy. I believe maybe every game except for one, but
Clyde Edwards-Helaire
kind of resurging.
Has more fantasy points than Jonathan Taylor this year.
There you go.
Put that one up for you. My biggest surprise, I'll go to last night, man. I'll go to the Niners 24-9 win over the Rams. Because both of these teams are just making complete nonsense to me right now. Like, just they're not making any sense to me on a week-to-week basis. We came into this year talking about the LA Rams, the defending Super Bowl champions. Now, listen, they're 2-2. It's not to say they're not going to win their division. It's not to say they're not one of the best teams in the league still. But we came in this year defending champs, and they're better. They have added Bobby Wagner. They added Allen Robinson, who, by the way, looks terrible through 4 weeks in LA. Stafford, I don't know if it's the injuries, if it's the offensive line.
Stafford looks bad.
Terrible. They cannot run the football, right? So this team, but then here's the thing, Scotty. They lose week 1 to the Bills, but then they beat the Falcons, but then they put up an impressive performance on the road against the Cardinals, a division rival. They win that game. And it's like, all right, maybe they're starting to find their groove now. It's early on in the year. Here they come.
Yeah.
Get their doors blown off on Monday night. They kicked 3 field goals. On the other side, you have the Niners, who start out sluggish with Trey Lance. Then Trey Lance goes down. Jimmy G's still there. He takes over. We're like, okay, we believe they're going to look better with Jimmy G, and they'll be a better football team. They lose 11-10 against the Denver Broncos on primetime last week, but then come out and beat the LA Rams by 15 the following week. It's not making any damn sense to me. Like, the whole league is so up and down and inconsistent, but these two teams specifically, I cannot get a read on them. And Scotty, the NFC West is 2-2 across the board.
Yeah.
I never thought, I don't care if it's 4 weeks in, I never thought the Seattle Seahawks would be tied record-wise past week 1 with the LA Rams or the San Francisco 49ers.
As far as the Rams, man, I'm interested to see how this game against Dallas looks this upcoming week, and obviously we'll talk about that at a later time. But just looking at what San Fran did to them last night defensively, they had pressure all over Matthew Stafford. You had Matthew Stafford using his legs way too much last night. He's trying to move around in the pocket, trying to run. And just looked a mess, quite honestly. He throws the pick 6, and Sean McVay gets caught saying, "Did you forget?" Like, I don't know what that is referring to, but anytime a quarterback forgets anything on the field, that's probably bad. It's probably terrible. So I think, whether it's the injury or the injury maybe getting into Matthew Stafford's head, I don't know how the Rams get better. They have such a talented team, but I don't know how they get better if Matthew Stafford is beat up. He's just going to keep getting more beat up. You can't run the football. Allen Robinson is non-existent, and you just go to Cooper Kupp all game, right? That's fine, but it's just not. It does not look the same as last year, right?
Yeah.
And you mentioned it. They have a better roster, on paper, but it's not clicking right now, and it has me worried for the Rams. Obviously, I know they have potential to really turn it around, but do they, right? The elbow is a real worry for me. Matthew Stafford looked out of whack last night, and quite frankly, all season. I mean, 4 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. That's not a good start.
Terrible start.
It's a terrible start. And on the other side of that, you have the 49ers, which at least with the 49ers, and I agree with what Terry said there, give Jimmy G a little bit more time, right? They have kind of always done this to the Rams as long as Sean McVay has been the coach, to be frank. But one thing they have is a calling card, and that's their defense. Their defense is really good. So out of all these teams that are left, or not left, but all these teams that are in the NFC West, I think the 49ers are the ones that I'm going to trust so far. As much as I can trust any of these teams, they would be the one that I would trust the most if I'm going to pick a division winner. But it's insane to think, Geno Smith is out here leading the Seahawks towards the same kind of path as the rest of these NFC West teams. But quite frankly, the Seahawks, they're not putting fear in my heart. The Rams right now look discombobulated, and the Cardinals, once again, they look like they're missing something. I know they're 2-2. They're coming off a good win against I believe it was the Panthers they beat this weekend, but they just look like they're missing something. They're not really intimidating either. It's interesting, man, to see how this division's looking, and just thinking about what it could turn into over this season. It's interesting to think about.
So, last question before we wrap up this episode.
Yeah.
I was putting my power rankings together earlier for heading into week 5, and we'll display those tomorrow and discuss them. But I'm sitting here, and a week or two ago, it was much more difficult to rank. I'd say probably 1 through 7. And then 8, 9, 10, 11, there was a conversation to be had there. I got to 3 this week. and I had a tough time figuring out who deserves to go in order from
Same,
4
man.
on. So
I'm
my
glad
question
you feel
to
the same
you,
way.
we're 4 weeks in. Doesn't mean a lot, but it is. I mean, it's almost the first quarter of the season. The first quarter of the season is basically done. It's almost done. Okay. Who would you rank if we're talking tiers?
Mm-hmm.
How many teams and who do you have in championship level tier? Can win a Super Bowl tier? Because I have 3. I'm serious.
It's going to be the same ones. I guarantee you. I have 3 as well. That's
the Eagles, it's the Chiefs, and it's the Bills.
Yeah. Simple.
Not that other teams can't, and not that one of
Those
these
are the
3 teams
front runners.
definitively, but right now, like again, when you're talking inconsistencies, you got the inconsistency with the Tampa Bay Bucks, the inconsistency with the Rams, the Niners. If they haven't done it before with Jimmy G, do I think they're a very good team and their defense is legit? Yes. But if they haven't done it before, I've seen this movie before, and they lost Elijah. I just don't see them getting over that hump all of a sudden this year. The Colts, no. The Chargers, way too injured. The Bengals have won 2 straight. Don't see it. Miami losing 2, God knows for how long. The Ravens 2-2, and against the Bills, Lamar struggled. Where do I go from here? Denver 2-2 has looked god awful all 4 weeks. Green Bay, don't even get me started on Green Bay. I don't know where you put them, and we can get to it tomorrow. But like I could care less that Green Bay won.
It was hard to rank them. You know what I mean?
I think I had them in around the 7 or 8 area. Just like I don't care that they won and the Bucks lost or that the Rams. I do not care. They are so pitiful to watch offensively. They're so bad. Like you were at home at Lambeau against Brian Hoyer and that offense, and then he goes out and you play, I don't even know, Alex Zappi, whatever the hell his name is, and you get taken to overtime and have to kick a game-winning field goal 2 possessions in overtime. That is embarrassing. And I don't see end in sight for Rodgers and these receivers. And here we go. The last thing. No, they are not in this conversation, but I will give them their credit. We can talk about them for the final 2 minutes. Hey, man, they're 3-0 with Cooper Rush. I don't know what you want to get. Like, cool. Like, I don't know what to say. You beat, like, I don't know.
I know what I'll say. Here's what I'll say, and this is what I'll propose to HP there. If the Cowboys go out here and they beat the Rams, and I know the Rams are struggling.
Say that again?
We can talk. We can talk.
No, say that again. If they what?
If they go out there and beat the Rams. Hey, if they go out there and beat the Rams, we can talk. And Rams, the pressure is on you. That's where I'm at.
Yeah. If the Dallas Cowboys, what's going on, man? If the Dallas Cowboys, Hunter.
With Cooper Rush? Woo!
Hunter, we should put a little friendly wager on this one. Because you just listened to me dog the Rams 2-2 start. The Dallas Cowboys, hold on, let me make myself very clear. And you can clip this if I'm proven wrong. The Dallas Cowboys have this much of a shot to beat the LA Rams. Hold on, let me say that again. This much. Can you even see my eyeball through this? No, you can't. That's the percentage, the sliver of hope I give you that they beat the Rams. And guess what? In sports betting, I try to go by this, use this motto as well, like a zigzag, man. I look at trends and what these teams did last week. Yes, you're right. I just dogged the LA Rams. If you think that the LA Rams offense got held to 3 field goals and lost 24-9 this week, and the Cowboys are coming off their 3rd straight win, and you think the Cowboys' trajectory is going to keep going this way and the Rams are going to keep going this way, I got news for you. Not happening. Where's the game at, Scotty?
I want to say it's in.
It doesn't matter to me.
Let me see. I'll pull it up real quick.
It's it. Oh, wait.
Yeah. It's in LA. It's in LA. It's in LA.
Good luck, Hunter. That's all I'll say. Good luck.
We got a rivalry, and just wait until week 6. It's gonna get juicy in here, man.
Oh my God, man! I hope maybe Dak will be back. I did see that Jerry said that he can't grip a ball yet.
That's what
So
Jerry
I don't know.
wants.
Yeah, I don't know how far off.
Jerry's
I don't know
talking
how
that
far off
into an
Dak is.
existence.
Yeah, man. I don't know how far off he is still or not.
It's going to be a hell of a battle, but yeah, yes sir, yes sir. No, just to get back to the power rankings point, it's going to be an
Yeah.
interesting conversation when we get down to it tomorrow, because I'm with you. Outside of those top three, I'll obviously bring my arguments, but there's going to be a lot of arguments the other way for a lot of these teams, because there's just been zero consistency, and that was displayed in full effect in week 4, my man. Because just keep getting filled with surprises, right? But the rankings will
I mean,
be
I'm not gonna
interesting.
lie.
How far do you drop the Rams down, man? The Rams, are they
keep my
higher than the
rankings real quick.
Packers, or? But I don't want you to give them all out today.
No, I got
I'm
you.
excited to talk about it though.
No. Okay, so I didn't discredit the Packers that greatly. They did win a game. The Rams look like shit. I didn't put the Rams ahead of them still, but the Packers are sitting at 7 at the moment.
Okay, so that lets me know where the Rams might be. So
yeah, a little teaser for you. And
yeah,
I think I'll have a surprise team in the spot ahead of the Packers for you. One that you might be happy about.
Interesting. I can't wait to see. I can't wait to see. The Dolphins is another interesting team, because while they lost Tua, the defense was still somewhat respectable, I thought, and it was an interesting game.
Oh yeah.
But Tua is a question mark now, and a major question mark. Who knows how long that takes to come back, if he ever does.
When a doctor told him today to walk away from the game.
Right. Several I've heard. So.
Listen, I don't believe that's going to happen, but it is a scary situation. So I don't think this is your normal concussion protocol. Maybe miss one game and then he's back. We'll see. Maybe that could be the case, because Miami just clearly does not give two shits. But it just seemed like something a lot deeper there. But with all that being said, guys, that is going to wrap up this Tuesday edition of NFL Turf Talk. Scotty and I will be pre-recording Thursday show tomorrow night, getting you guys ready for the Colts and the Broncos Thursday Night Football matchup, as well as breaking. Yes, sir. As well as breaking down our Week 5 updated power rankings, and maybe we'll come up with a little fun segment for you guys. But guys, don't forget to check us out on Twitter at DSM_media. Hit that follow button. We greatly, greatly appreciate it. Check out the link tree in our bio. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. You can find us on TikTok, Instagram, Twitch, Facebook. It does not matter. Check out the TeePublic site as well. We got new merch up there too. And then also check out our sponsors, Luxodon. ShopLuxodon.com. Use promo code DSM at checkout for 25% off. And check out our guys at Gents Barber Lounge at www.gentsbarberlounge.com. Book your appointment today. Fishtown, Old City locations. Very, very good work at both spots. For myself, for Scotty, have a great rest of your night.
Go Birds.
One-on-one.